for. Sorry, we just lost recording. So Dan will continue from where he left. We will probably be submitting 2 files instead of 1. Go ahead, Daniel, and sorry for the technical glitches.
Yeah, no worries. Let me my PowerPoint disappeared here. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, maybe it got overloaded. The recording on the computer stuff got overloaded or something. I don't know.
All right, it's loading up here. It will take about 10 more seconds. Hopefully.
Coley, just with my past experience, you might want to rename that file once it is converted, because when I did last week's assignment, it just started saving Zoom 0, Zoom 1.
Mm-hmm. And I will do that. Yeah, thanks.
So it doesn't overwrite it by accident.
Yeah.
Oh, after it's done.
Right. Before we save this, or before this recording starts to be converted, you'll need to rename that previous file.
All right, sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah, that particular file is gonna probably take another 20 to 15 minutes to get done. But I will make sure.
Or just save them in different locations, or Yeah,
I will make sure that this doesn't get overridden. That won't be good.
Okay, I think I'm set now. So I'll start on the slide that I left off on. And okay. All right, so as I just concluded with the last presentation, I think this part might have gotten cut off, but the key takeaway here is Paris is definitely built to host large-scale conventions. It has the lodging, it has the transportation, it's safe. The one opportunity is the lack of one central convention center space that's large enough to host it.
Hey, Dan, do you know what the prices would be for the lodging and the transportation?
That's a great question. From a lodging standpoint, I'd have to get the specifics, but just based on the amount of hotels that they have, there definitely would be something in the low range all the way up to thousands of dollars a night, but I can get the specifics. From a transportation standpoint, the Metro, you're looking at less than $5 for a Metro ride, so it's definitely pretty feasible for people to use that option.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks.
Looking at entertainment, Paris has entertainment options to meet a variety of interests. So I broke it down into 5 main interest types. The first being museums. There are over 130,000 museums in Paris that include art, history, science, something for everyone. In fact, it's home to some of the most world-renowned museums that everyone most likely has heard of, including the Louvre and the Musée d'Orsay. From a sports standpoint, Paris is home to soccer club Paris Saint-Germain. They feature the Brazilian international star Neymar. And it's also home to the Roland Garros Stadium, which hosts the French Open tennis tournament every year, one of 4 major tournaments within tennis. While that event isn't going on during September, people that are interested in tennis would still be able to go and check out the stadium and see what it looks like. From the soccer standpoint, they start their season just prior to September, so convention goers very likely would be able to see a game. From a dining standpoint, Paris has over 50 restaurants with at least 1 Michelin star. 10 have at least 3. And so from any food enthusiast, they'd have a great opportunity to experience some of the finest restaurants in the world. For those that aren't looking to spend quite as much money, they also have an abundance of cafes that cover all price ranges that feature local, organic, and seasonal products. From a cultural standpoint, there are too many things to list. Some of the key ones are the Eiffel Tower, which has had over 250 million visitors since being built, the Cathedral of Notre Dame, which is one of the finest examples of French architecture, and then a district known as Montmartre, which is a little bit more of a theater district, featuring it's right by the Moulin Rouge. It's also home to the Sacré-Cœur Cathedral. And then last but not least, shopping is a big to-do in Paris. There's many luxury shops along the famous Champs-Élysées. There are also many neighborhoods that are known for shopping, such as the Les Marais, which is in the core of the city. And that's known for some of the eclectic, high-trend shopping experiences that people come to associate with Paris. Paris is also a leading city for sustainability in Europe. Looking first at sustainability efforts, there are two main things that they are focused on. The first is the 2050 Paris Smart City Project. The goal of this is to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 75% in 2050. Another thing that they've done is a creation of an eco-district. So what they've done here is they've redeveloped a former railroad site into mixed quarter use of residential and commercial buildings, really focusing on energy efficiencies and reduction of emissions. It also includes the largest park in the district and emphasizes biodiversity, where they use wetlands to collect rainwater for reuse and designed to act as a cooling space for the residential and commercial developmental areas within the project. There are also over 400 green spaces and parks within the city. So while Paris is in general a very crowded, hustling and bustling city, there are definitely opportunities for our convention goers to seek out the different parks and the green spaces and to enjoy, sitting down on a picnic blanket, eating lunch, drinking wine, and there are many of those opportunities within the city. Lastly, from a sustainability leader standpoint, there are two main speakers that I've identified that could be great for speaking. The first being Bertrand Delanoë. He's actually from Belgium, but he currently resides in Paris. Oh, sorry. He's the Paris mayor from 2001 to 2014, and he's helped launch numerous sustainability initiatives within the city. And then Vincent Caillebotte, he's the one that was originally from Belgium, but has since moved to Paris. And he is an architect who designs futuristic eco-projects. He's led eco-projects throughout the world. One of the concepts that he's built that's, I think, pretty unique is called LilyPad. And it's basically a floating ecopolis project that's focus is designing a place for future refugees from rising water conditions due to climate change. And so in all, I think Paris is a really great city. It's a worldly city. It's hosted numerous large events and definitely has the scale to host this one. And it also presents just a multitude of attractions and events and interests that all of our convention goers will be able to partake in. So I think Paris would be a great option. Any questions?
Thank you, Dan. Awesome. So last but not the least, right? Okay. Let me know, guys, when you're able to see my screen. Let me know if you're able to see my screen, guys.
It's good.
We got it.
Yeah.
All right. Last presentation, guys. Then we're almost done. First and foremost, I would like to thank you all to come visit me to listen to my city pitch for the Sustainable Business Practice Conference. Let's start on why we're here. We're passionate about sustainability efforts, about people, the planet, and the economic stability of the cities worldwide. We want to raise awareness and promote sustainable business practices in cities where these practices are perhaps a bit behind. We want the world to be a green place for future generations and also create operational efficiencies to thrive in today's world. Over the course of the next few slides, I would talk about the city I would be pitching about, its location and logistic benefits, sustainability focus, along with various city attractions, events which the city is famous for, especially in the month of September. The city I will be pitching about is Miami. Since I moved to the United States, I've lived in the frozen tundra, as you may see with my shirt. And the thought of vacationing in Miami fascinates me whenever fall takes a corner. I've always had a close affinity towards Miami, its beaches, and the rapid pace which the city has grown from both an economic and tourism standpoint. In the first half of the presentation, we will talk about location logistics, benefits of holding the conference in Miami, and discuss hotel accommodation, convention space, etc. As the title of the slide suggests, Miami offers more than 5,000 hotel rooms and convention space for 5,000 people or more. Miami leads the United States in the hotel occupancy and is only behind New York City in the number of hotel rooms in the US, which is a very prime example of why Miami itself becomes a top contender for the conference. There are a variety of hotel rooms, as you can see in the graph or the table, from 46 five-star hotels for the more affluent. And there are many hotels for low-price folks who are on a budget. There are more than 55,000 hotel rooms available in Miami. There are two major conference centers in convention centers in Miami, which are within a distance of 3 miles each. One is the Miami Beach Convention Center, and the other is the Miami Convention Center. The Miami Beach Convention Center has a total of 85 individual rooms, which can accommodate up to 5,000 people. It's in the heart of the city. And the MCC Center is also in the heart of downtown, has approximately 34 individual rooms, which can accommodate 5,000 people as well. Mainly for this conference, we will choose the Miami Beach Convention Center, but there's also a possibility, if decided that Miami is our place to do the conference, we can have both the conference centers be part of the conference. Any questions, guys, on this slide?
Just a quick one. So if they lead in hotel occupancy, is there any concern that we'll have trouble getting empty rooms if they're mostly full most of the time?
There's an 85% occupancy rate, which is usually full. But out of the 55,000 hotel rooms, I don't see getting 5,000 hotel rooms, which is about approximately 10% of 55,000 would be a big deal to fill up.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. So off onto our transit. So Miami offers a great local mass transit. Miami-Dade is the primary public transit and is largest in Florida. MDT, as it goes, operates rapid transit metro rails, metro buses, paratransits, etc. The daily passenger ridership is approximately 335,000, and it accounts for approximately 15% of Miamians' daily transportation. There are a total of 817 buses, 136 metro rail cars, and 412 metro mover cars plying all over Miami. Miami offers two international airports. One is the Miami International Airport, which, as you see on the slide, is only 7 miles from the city center, and the Fort Lauderdale Airport, which is only 24 miles from the city center. Weather, well, it's impossible to beat Miami weather, right? The weather is the best part, and it averages around 85 high and 80 low, making it perfect beach weather and, things to do. Crime rates. Well, this is, it's higher, of course, as the slide says. So they're generally higher in Miami. That is not so fun things for bigger cities. Crime rate is comparable to other bigger city. Miami has a crime index of 6. It's safer than only 6% of other US cities. There are 22,000 annual crimes happening in Miami, and per 1,000 residents, the approximate value of crime is 50.64. Although MBCC, or the Miami Beach Convention Center, does provide security. And everything is downtown. The mornings are usually good. You can travel, you can be individually, you can go back and forth. But of course, in the nighttime, like other presenters have said, be in a group. The convention center always, they give you a detailed security schedule, they post a plan, and prior to the conference, the event manager along with the security manager should meet and would meet to ensure safety. Increased coverage can also be provided. And as I said, downtown area is pretty much safer for the visitors. Any questions on this slide, guys? Okay. All right, on to our next half of the PowerPoint. We will discuss about sustainability and other city attractions. Sustainability efforts in Miami paled in comparison to European cities and New England in the United States. Arcadis Sustainability Cities Index charts ranks Miami as 54th most sustainable city in the world. The Arcadis things classifies sustainability into three segments: people, which consists of health rate, education, income, and inequality. Top cities in that segment include Seoul, Rotterdam, Hamburg, and Vienna. The next segment, planet, which consists of energy, consumer, and green space, where the top cities in the segment include Zurich, as Chris had presented about, Stockholm, Geneva, and Vienna. And the final segment is the profit segment, which includes transportation, infrastructure, and ease of doing business, and tourism. Top cities here include Singapore, Hong Kong, London, etc. I believe a real win, if we pick Miami, would be to get them into the top 5 of any one of these three segments. There are many initiatives, as you can see on the slide, going on in Miami to increase sustainability efforts. There is Miami Office of Sustainable Initiative, which was created in 2007. It led the creation of city's climate action plan. We can have the conference attendees visit Miami Green Lab, which serves as a green building resource center for the community, and the MDT Center, like I spoke about, to visit, the green Miami trolleys or the Metromove, Metro Rail, and buses. Or we can get those people involved and come as presenters. We can also invite several leaders to be our keynote speakers. As again listed on the slide, we have Ralph Della Rosa, Jalal Farouk, and Dr. Julio Frank, who have been local leaders from a sustainability standpoint. We can reach out to any one of these people, and hopefully we can get all three of them. On to our last slide. So Miami, as we all know, is full of events and attractions. It's Miami. In September, some of the local events which take place in Miami are Miami Spice, Home Design and Remodeling Show, Arts Launch, Brazilian Film Festivals, etc. There are multiple attractions, including South and Miami Beach, Art Deco, Bayside Marketplace, and Little Havana. So to end, Miami has the logistics and an emerging market as far as sustainability efforts are concerned. A conference here would help Miami up from a global ranking of 54, which is eventually our goal. Thanks for your time, guys. I will take any questions you may have for me.
What does the letters on the bottom of the slide mean?
All right, that's perfect. That's a good question. So they're the most common, if you may see, those are the most common acronyms used in Miami. And I may not remember each of them, what each of them mean, but I can. So MIA is Miami International Airport, so that's Miami. MIMO, BIBO is, I don't remember this one, but I have a link in the appendix which says them. SoBi is South Beach. Then this is just Saw Pitbull, JSP. This is something to do with the Miami Heat. Do we still pay to watch the Heat or something? BBB is bro. That's what they use. So yeah, that's what it all means. But on the appendix, I think I've posted all the slides. You can, if you have time, you guys can go ahead and see what that stuff means. I'm assuming there are no further questions then, guys?
None for me.
All right. Awesome. All right, so our other slide is 53% done. So what should we do? Our next step is to choose one of the places, right, guys?
Did anyone sell the rest of the group? Like, anyone have some strong feelings now that we've heard each of our presentations? So I'll just go. I noted a couple of concerns, and I don't think anything is necessarily disqualifying, because I think we all had a potential area of conflict in each of our presentations. I mean, specifically in Hanover, the distance from the site to the hotel and having people travel 30 plus minutes each day just might seem a little tough. that was really the only thing that I noted in Hanover, though. Like everything else seemed pretty cutting edge, or sustainability leading. It's just the concept of having people travel 30 minutes both ways and the impact that could have.
That's quite a bit.
Yeah, both environmentally and just time-wise.
Yeah.
People in here, we want to make it as convenient as possible.
Yeah. So speaking to my own, like after seeing everybody else's presentations, I do have some concerns about Zurich and having to split the conference up over like all their available conference centers in order to meet the meeting room needs.
Yeah, and that was something I noticed with Paris too. It's just that convenience factor. If we're bringing people in from all over the globe, we're gonna make it as easy as possible. So a lot of the things I noted was just convenience.
I was gonna say, I think that part gets tough too, because then as you break out the meetings, who do you assign to their main convention center, and then who do you make travel to the other ones, and it's kind of have to prioritize based on what you like the most, I guess. So and
if you have attendees that want to see parts of one and parts of another, it's not a 5-minute walk down the hall. It's getting across downtown, or you need a half an hour to get there.
True.
Right, and I mean, then to Hanover's point, at least once you're on site, everything is there.
Yep.
So it's just kind of that initial thing. Yeah.
So I think are we weighting these across a few measures? Like, okay, convenience is definitely one of them. So I think from a convenience standpoint, I think Hanover and what was the second one, which come a little low?
It would be Zurich and Paris that
will require multiple.
Different levels of inconvenience, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah. So Denver was also 20 miles away, right? Or was it?
That was just the airport.
Okay.
So once you got into downtown, everything was walkable.
So the convention center was in downtown, right?
Yep, and convention center could hold everything, and once you get into downtown, it was everything was right there.
I would say like Denver and Rio were probably the top as far as from this perspective of there being, you have a convention center, you have hotels that are either attached or right there, walking distance. You had how many thousands of rooms within, like 10,000 rooms within walking distance of the convention center.
Right.
So I think from that perspective, those two probably just showed up as the highest for me from that convenience factor of one convention center co-located with the hotels pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then I guess, are we looking at, is the purpose of this conference, and I know, Coley, you hit on it a little bit, are we supposed to like highlight, do we want to go to a city that maybe could make improvements and highlight that, or do we want to target a city that's in like an exemplar of sustainability?
See, so for that, from that standpoint, so the way I wanted to go about presenting about Miami was, okay, what's the benefit? It's ranked number 54th. So what would be a good thing to say about Miami? So 54 is not the best ranking, but we want to bring them up. And just, from a standpoint of conferences, we want to have everyone walk with us, right? So to me, that becomes a primary, should be one of our primary facets of choosing a city. Now, I know where you're probably going with this, so I'm going to check Rio on where it ranks.
Yeah.
And I found it. So Rio ranks 82.
Yeah.
And which was the other city? Denver?
Yep.
Denver is a little higher at 49. So to me, go ahead.
Well, so I'm looking at the assignment description, and it doesn't say like must be exemplar or anything like that. The question is, are there local sustainability efforts that can be highlighted or that you could go tour?
Mm-hmm.
And local sustainability leaders. So from that perspective, I think and Coley, I apologize if I missed it. I don't know if you have some stuff that like Miami's currently doing, or if it'd be like, hey, this is what we can implement to help Miami.
No, it's both. It's currently doing, and they're actually doing more stuff to currently grow in the sustainability efforts.
Okay.
So that's also in my appendix slide. But yeah, they're doing both.
Okay. All right. Okay, because I mean, I think a lot of us had that. Then I think most of the cities did have some level of sustainability efforts that could be highlighted.
Right.
I think Rio did too. If Jen, Rio had a few, right, going on where people could come visit or go visit at least. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It did seem like probably Zurich and Hanover were the leaders in at least innovative, new.
So Zurich
Zurich
was number one. Zurich was number one.
Yeah, they were number one. But again, I think there are places like the arguments for Miami or a Rio is like they're currently in the midst of making these changes. So it's a different way of looking at it. Where like with Zurich and Hanover, they've done it. They're kind of an example of how to do it well. Whereas Zurich and Rio whereas Rio and Miami are going through it right now.
Correct. And
like going through the changes and how to make it better. And you look at like Rio before the Olympics versus after. Mm-hmm. How did they make all these changes in a short time? So I mean, there's a bunch of different ways we can look at that.
So the only thing which I didn't state in my slide, guys, I think I may want to say it is Miami is also, hurricane can come over whenever. So
that is hurricane
not
season.
Whenever.
That's
so I did do some search and I didn't put it on my slides. It was just at the end. If the question would have been asked, I would have said, there were only 3 hurricanes since 2015. But before that, the last hurricane in September was in 2005.
That's not correct. I actually deal with what we call X factors in my job because disposable respirators are constantly needed for natural disasters. We had 3 hurricanes last September in the Florida area and 2 this year. Michael hit in October of this year. Irma was last year.
I was talking Florida, September timeframe.
Yes, they were both in September. I'm sorry, did I say that? No.
You said October,
Michael, I'm sorry, you're right. Michael was early October.
Yeah. But anyways, I think the point of the matter is
the height of hurricane season for that state.
Correct.
And we should seriously consider that because that could put everything off the rails.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking before I chose Miami, and then I said, then I read the description. Oops, it's in September. All right, maybe
not. So my personal feeling is, I think, to me, like Rio ticks most of the boxes. My only concern about it is the crime.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was the only real con I saw to Rio.
Well, so and I think. The events which have already taken place in Rio, World Cup, which is, you guys know, is huge. Olympics is probably even bigger. The only thing was, with those 2 events, the entire country is on vigil, right?
Yeah.
With the IOSBP, they won't be. So
they won't?
Well, not as much as the 2 other events. So we may have to pay security extra. But, I mean, it's known to do bigger events. And it's international, and our target is let's get these cities who are emerging grow. I mean, I'm sure we can always spend a little bit more on security, but because Rio is also an emerging market, I'm sure the prices will be a little lower than other developed cities. So maybe that can be a good offset.
Well, some of what I read in my research was that now that they've kind of overbuilt for these huge global sporting events, they're hungry to try to fill those spaces again.
Correct.
So they might be more competitive from a pricing standpoint if we're willing to bring that big of a conference to their city.
I think one of the things, too, with the safety concern within Rio is how much of it is actual concern that's driven by, like, U.S. media versus what actually is a concern. And so I think, as you mentioned when you presented, Jen, safety didn't seem quite as big of a concern as I think everybody initially thought it was going to be. And so
Yeah.
I think just debunking some of those in the presentation and saying, like, here's how it's perceived, but here's what it actually is, can hopefully alleviate some of those concerns that might, make people hesitant to head down that way.
Yeah, so publishing some of those statistics, just knowing that tends to be a rumor or some misinformation that people might know. I think that those statistics can typically be skewed whichever way wanted. Almost any tourist city, including Denver. I've traveled to Denver for work. Downtown, there are some areas that you just want to avoid where, homeless population is high and you wouldn't want to be there at night. But for the majority of the city, it's clean, it's well taken care of, and it's safe. Right. So you're going to find pockets everywhere you go. And to your point, it tends to be what the media kind of hammers on. Correct. These cities need tourism to thrive. So they're careful in their tourist districts to make it safe, keep it clean.
Yep. Agreed. So I guess
and that's another thing that's nice about the convention center that I found. We will have most of the attendees staying within that complex or very close. So they aren't going to be forced to walk or take public transportation far away unless they choose to do so. And then I would say that's probably because they're adventurous, so they're not worried about it, and they'll be careful to choose parts of the city that are safer rather than not.
Yep. Agreed. So the only concern, which I think with Rio would just be the crime, but I think that's we can overcome that. I think it's got attractions, it's got sustainability efforts going on. It's 82 ranking, so we can it'll bring it up. What else were the points? I think it has the metro rails, stuff like that. Transportation is not bad, and it's an international conference. Yes, exactly, it's an international conference. So I think Rio does hit all the spots, but the main one which it hits is, we got to bring the 82 ranking up. I think that to me is the kicker.
Well, and so, talking about potential speakers, maybe we get from someone from that association where those statistics are pulled from and ask them to talk about some of the top cities and things that they're doing that we can learn from and how we can replicate those projects and bring that 82 ranking up.
Yep. I mean, just bringing the conference in, I'm sure it just will, raise awareness and stuff like that, and it should bring it up.
Yeah, like we've said, just highlight kind of the different projects or different challenges that area is facing, and lean on some of the other more innovative cities to, show them the way.
Right.
Right.
All right.
So, I think we're in agreement then.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Yep, Rio it is.
Okay, so what are our next steps? So we have to each submit our own decks. Then Coley, you're going to submit the recordings.
Yeah, the 2 recordings I will. One is 85% done, so that's good. So I can rename it before I start doing this one.
Okay.
I think the next steps are, I think we're good from a standpoint of the recording, our individual decks, and our self-evaluations.
Yep.
The last point is a combined deck.
Yep.
I think it should be a slide deck format. I think we could do a comparison between the five or six cities.
Right.
And we should create certain tables and stuff, a weighted average method. And at the end, we should say why we chose this city. Because I think we should take all of those topics off, the measures, all the measures, score them, weigh them, and then say, okay, this comes out to be number 2, this comes up with number 3, 1, and then we say finally it's Rio. We have a lot of data which we can compile. We can have a couple of tables, and I think if we all work on this for an hour each, I think we should be good.
Yeah, I can. So what I can do is on Monday evening, I can throw together a template deck again on the drive and throw together basically like a Pew Matrix scoring table saying, okay, here's all the things from the assignment description. Here's the various cities and rank them 1, 3, or 5 kind of,
right?
And weight them. And then that'll basically come out with our recommendation. And then I think just a few summary slides based on from Jen's Rio stuff of, okay, this is the important statistics about travel, lodging, conference center, So as we were to give this to somebody else, they would say, oh, yes, it does actually tick all those boxes.
Yeah, and they should be able to read the slides and figure it out what it is, because
Yep.
we're not going to be presenting that, I guess.
Yep, exactly.
So yeah, and by the way, I'll be in Miami on Tuesday, so that's good. I'm going on vacation. Tuesday. Yeah, I mean that came out really, really well. I mean, I did my research, and that worked out really well. My final is tomorrow, and then my off to Miami on Tuesday.
There you go.
Good luck.
Great job, everybody.
All right,
Great
good job, guys.
guys.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Bye.